Collins here, and today we're back with a brand new video and a brand new episode of This Week News. Now, I want to apologize for not uploading these past couple of days, and by couple of days I mean this past week or so. I know it's been about, I would say, 10, 11 days since I last uploaded, and for that I have to apologize. I just haven't been feeling the YouTube grind recently, and I don't know if that feeling's ever going to spark back up, if it ever will, or when it will, or whatever. However, today I've had some interesting stories that happened this week, so that's why I want to make a new episode of This Week News. Now, if you're new to the channel, new to the series, and you don't know what it's about, essentially it's just me pretending to be scarce but fatter and more biased. Because, I have gameplay, I talk about shit that goes on the internet, and, all that cool jazz. That being said, let's just get into our first story, because it's pretty massive. Now, the first story in this video is going to be about the whole Trump getting banned off of Twitter, plus the protests that happened this past Wednesday. Let me just start off by saying that I condemn the rioting and protests that happened this past Wednesday, because while I understand that these people who were protesting felt that the election was robbed from them, I don't condone the fact that they went to the Capitol building and, they stormed on in, even though videos are surfacing of them being let in. I know that everyone there was a grown adult, and they should have had the basic common sense to know, you're not supposed to enter in a federal building, and that's a pretty big no-no. So even if they were let in, I think it was wrong of them to actually go inside. Again, I get that they're upset about the election, obviously there's a bunch of controversy surrounding the election, one side says the election was 100% secure, safe, totally not fucking rigged, while the other side is saying it was completely rigged, Trump won in a huge landslide, MAGA 2020, all that kind of crap. And I'm going to try and stay out of it because I don't want to get political on this channel, but what I am definitely going to say is the fact that the mainstream media is treating this like this devastating, horrible thing, when back in the summer of 2020, they were treating the protests and riots back then as this, this movement, this Black Lives Matter movement, this big thing, when in reality it was just a bunch of people looting buildings, storming them, raiding them, setting things on fire, burning down. Dude, you can't make this shit up. Back then, I condemned the rioters, I condemned the people who were looting and setting things on fire and destroying private property, and I'm gonna do the same today. I condemn the people who were rioting, I condemn the people who were looting, stealing shit, because that did happen, apparently. Yeah, that's not okay. You shouldn't be stealing shit, If you want to get your message across, whatever message it may be, even if I disagree with it, even if I agree with it, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is if you want to get your message across, you gotta do it peacefully, you can't fucking riot, you can't fucking storm. If you want to get the message across, you have to do it peacefully. And I respect the people who peacefully protest BLM and shit, the people protesting, the officers that unjustifiably killed people. I respect that, if you want to peacefully protest and get your message across, go right ahead. I respect that, if you want to peacefully protest the election and say that the election was stolen, sure, as long as you do it peacefully. But if you're going to storm Capitol building on the day that the senators and the House of Representatives are going to talk about this, they're going to count the electoral votes and certify the election, it's not okay. I don't know what was in the minds of these people, and now people are saying that it was a bunch of Antifa protesters that were actually disguised as Trump voters or whatever like that, MAGA supporters, Trump supporters, whatever. I don't know what to believe. I honestly wouldn't put it past Antifa, knowing the shit that they tried pulling over the past years now. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried disguising themselves as Trump protesters to make Trump look bad. And honestly, if that was the case, well, they succeeded, because Trump ended up getting banned off of Twitter and basically every social media platform that isn't right-wing. It initially started off with a 12-hour ban by Twitter after Trump made a couple videos. In one of the videos, he did mention to go home, peacefully protest, don't fucking riot and shit. But at the same time, in the same video, he did mention about the election being stolen, so I believe that's probably why Twitter decided to take it down. However, what really doesn't make sense to me personally is after a 12-hour ban, Trump came back and he ended up conceding the election, which is good. He admitted that he basically admitted defeat and said that the election was certified in Joe Biden's favor, and said that he was going to try to do a smooth transition period of power or whatever. However, what confused me is the fact that after that video went up, Trump's Twitter was completely banned. Completely. And while I personally support private businesses doing what they do, Twitter has every right to ban whoever they fucking want off their platform. It's their platform, they're a private business. What I do not support is monopolies, and basically that's what's going on here. Because our next story of the video revolves around Parler, and you can love and hate Parler. Personally, I've never used it. You can love or hate it, but it doesn't have a right to be fucking deplatformed completely. But that's basically what happened, because Google Play and Apple have taken these apps off their stores, meaning you can no longer download them on your phone. And you see, that's kind of the problem now. A lot of these big tech, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and all that kind of shit, they have monopolies, meaning if you don't like the service that you're being provided with, if you don't like the way you're being treated on the platform, you can't just go to another service. You can't not just go to Parler, you can't just go to BitChute, you can't go to all these alternative websites. But not only did Apple and Google give fucking Parler the boot, but now Amazon, who owns the servers that Parler is currently on, are gonna start giving Parler the boot as well. And now, if you have a differentiating opinion, or you don't like Twitter for one reason or the other, you basically have no place to go. And the same can be said about YouTube. I mean, they're alternative, but the alternatives aren't really well funded. I mean, these companies have a fucking monopoly, whether you like it or not. These companies have a monopoly, and that's the biggest issue here, and it bothers me personally, because now, if you don't like what you're saying, or if you get banned off these platforms for reasons that are just fucking retarded, like, oh, Twitter doesn't like what you said, or whatever the case may be, you don't have anywhere else to go. But let's just stay out of politics for now, because we're going to move on to the next story, which revolves around the Call Me Carson story. Now, there really isn't much of a story here, which is kind of why I lumped it in here instead of making it its own separate video. I've thought about making its own separate video on this story, but there really isn't much to talk about. Now, if you've been living under a rock, the story kind of goes as follows. Carson was talking to and sharing photos and receiving photos from an underage girl, multiple underage girls, should I say. And I know that sounds bad, but here's the kicker. Here's the real kicker. Carson was between the ages of 19 and 20, and the girls in question were both 17. And yeah, you can kind of see now that this story really isn't that much of a story. Because yeah, what Carson did was kind of scummy. You shouldn't be talking with your underage fans. And in my personal opinion, you probably shouldn't be talking with your fans to begin with, but especially if they're underage, you probably shouldn't be talking with them. And based on the text conversations, yeah, it seems a little bit of a manipulative kind of situation. But people are straight up calling Carson a fucking predator and a pedophile and shit, and that's just not the case, dude. Like, I admit what Carson was doing was wrong, and he's definitely a scumbag for doing it, but he's not a fucking pedophile, because it's people dating with 2-year age gaps is far from uncommon. To put it in perspective, it's kind of like a sophomore dating a senior, and that's hardly uncommon. And while it's still a little weird because Carson was 19, 20 years old and these girls were 17, I mean, it's not the worst thing out there. I mean, if Carson was like 30 fucking years old, then yeah, sure, it'd be a lot more terrible, but Carson was not, he was like 19, 20 years old. Like, this is not really that big of a story, honestly. Again, I'm not trying to defend Carson for what he did. What he did was absolutely wrong. However, to call him a pedophile isn't the right word, in my opinion. Maybe you can call him a manipulator, but I don't think Carson's into kids, okay? Let me just get that straight. Carson is not into kids. Next story. And now for the final story of the video. I have to thank my girlfriend for sending me this story, because otherwise I wouldn't have known anything about it. But because my girlfriend sent me a link to the story, I was able to look it up. And yeah, this story is pretty bad. This streamer, I don't know who the fuck it is. She ended up berating a fucking cancer patient on Omegle. Now, I'll leave a link in the description down below to the initial Reddit post that kind of blew this story up. Now, essentially, the streamer was on Omegle and making fun of this person on the other end, making fun of their looks and everything, and even said, "Oh, look, do you have a wig? Do you have a wig on?" And then when it came out that this person was a cancer patient undergoing chemotherapy, she just continued on berating. She wasn't even like, oh shit, fuck, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that was wrong of me. No, she continued berating this cancer patient and calling her mean names and ugly and shit. Like, dude, that's fucked up. I'm gonna roll the clip.
Oh no, I'm a celebrity. I get paid to make YouTube videos, unlike you fucking pathetic loser bat.
Great.
You're a nobody, you're ugly, you're fat, you're poor, and you look deformed. Get surgery, pluck your eyebrows, you have a fucking unibrow. Wearing a wig? Take off your wig. Take off your fucking wig. Take off your fucking wig. Take
I
off
bet
your
that's
wig,
fake
you
hair.
big bitch. Take off your wig.
I don't need
Take.
fake
It
hair
is a
or plastic
wig. Oh my god, that's embarrassing. Cancer. Oh my fucking god, you have fucking cancer. You are such a loser. You're wearing a wig because you're bald, huh?
Not the nicotine addiction.
Not the cancer. You have
Not the
fucking
nicotine
cancer.
addiction.
You are such a loser. How pathetic can you be? You're fat, you're ugly, you look deformed, you're poor, and you have fucking cancer and no hair. And your wig's fucking crooked, by the way. Fix that.
You know, I've had family members who had to undergo chemotherapy. You know, I've had family members who had cancer. And, you know, it's not a fun experience. It's definitely not a fun experience at all. And if you haven't had cancer, you should thank your lucky stars because cancer is a fucking bitch. I mean, it's not a fun thing, obviously. I mean, you have to, you know, go through chemotherapy, which within of itself isn't fun. And then you have to basically, your life is at risk, dude. You could die depending on how severe the cancer could be. Now, apparently this person's information was getting leaked and doxed, and you know what? I don't care what this person said, that's still not okay, you know? You don't stoop to their level of degeneracy to prove a point, you know? You can't fight fire with fire. What this person did was absolutely fucked up, but stooping down to their level and doing just as fucked up shit to them is not okay. At the end of the day, what they did was wrong, but doxing them, spreading their information, doing all that kind of shit is absolutely not okay, and something I will never ever support. But hey, that's just my opinion. You can have your own opinions. Let me know in the comment section down below what do you guys think. That being said, hope you guys enjoy this episode of This Week News. Hopefully there'll be more to come in the future. That being said though, hope you guys enjoy. Like the video, subscribe if you're new, click the notifications if you haven't already, and yeah. Anyways, goodbye and farewell.